On the morning of December 1st, 1948, beachgoers on Somerton Beach in Adelaide, Australia, found a man lying in the sand. He was well-dressed, perfectly still, his head resting against the seawall, his legs crossed at the ankles, as if he had simply leaned back and fallen asleep watching the ocean. He was dead. No one had heard anything. No one had seen him arrive. No one reported him missing. And despite one of the most exhaustive investigations in Australian history, a case that has drawn cryptographers, intelligence agencies, and amateur detectives from around the world for over 70 years, no one has ever been able to answer the most basic question of all. Who was he? But that's not even the strangest part of this story. The strangest part is what was found hidden inside his clothing. A scrap of paper. 2 words printed on it in Persian. Words that, when translated, mean, "It is finished." This is the Tamam Shud case, and it is one of the most layered, most baffling, most quietly disturbing mysteries in the history of the modern world. The man was found at approximately 6:30 in the morning. He was estimated to be between 40 and 45 years old, 5 feet 11 inches tall, athletic build, exceptionally well-groomed. His nails were manicured, his shoes freshly polished. He was wearing a suit jacket, a white shirt, and a tie, even in the Australian summer heat. He appeared completely healthy. No visible injuries, no signs of a struggle, no expression of distress on his face. When police arrived, they searched him. What they found, and more importantly, what they didn't find, set the tone for everything that followed. He had no wallet, no identification of any kind, no keys, no money, nothing with a name on it. Every label had been removed from his clothing, every single one, with what appeared to be deliberate, careful precision. His fingerprints matched nothing in any Australian or international database. His dental records matched no known patient. He was a ghost, a man who had walked onto a beach in Adelaide and simply ceased to have a past. An autopsy was performed. The pathologist, John Dwyer, found something unexpected. The man's blood was partially congested. His spleen was enlarged to 3 times its normal size. His stomach contained traces of a last meal, a pasty, but no identifiable poison. Investigators found an unclaimed suitcase at Adelaide railway station that was linked to the man. Inside, clothes, a stenciling brush, a reel of thread that matched repairs made to his trousers, and several items of clothing. Every label, again, had been carefully removed, except one. A single laundry tag on a tie reading the name Keane. Police traced every person named Keane in Australia. None of them matched. None of them claimed the bag. The name led nowhere. The suitcase also contained a type of thread not commercially available in Australia at the time, only in the United States and parts of Europe. Whoever this man was, he had been somewhere else recently, somewhere far. For months, the investigation stalled. The man remained unidentified. They called him the Somerton Man, named for the beach where he was found. His body was embalmed and preserved, pending identification. Plaster casts were made of his face and hands. Australia had never encountered anything quite like this before. And then, in July 1949, 7 months after his death, a local detective had the body re-examined. And tucked into a tiny, almost invisible fob pocket in the man's trousers, sewn shut and invisible to a casual search, he found it. A scrap of paper, torn from a book. 2 words. Tamam Shud. Tamam Shud is a phrase from the Rubaiyat of Omar Khayyam, a collection of Persian poetry from the 11th century, widely translated into English. The phrase appears on the final page. It means it is ended. It is finished. Police appealed to the public. They needed to find the specific copy of the Rubaiyat this scrap had been torn from, because the paper matched a very specific 1941 edition translated by Edward Fitzgerald. A man came forward. He said he had found a copy of exactly that edition in the back seat of his unlocked car, parked near Somerton Beach on the night of November 30th, 1948, the night before the body was discovered. The book was examined. The scrap matched perfectly. The final page had been torn out. But there was something else inside the back cover. Written in faint pencil, almost invisible to the naked eye, were 5 lines of letters. Capital letters, arranged in groups, crossed out in places, rewritten. Cryptographers from around the world have studied these lines for over 70 years. Intelligence agencies, including ASIO, Australia's domestic intelligence service, were brought in during the original investigation. None of them could crack it. It doesn't match any known cipher system. It doesn't appear to be a simple substitution code. Some researchers believe it may be a one-time pad, a virtually unbreakable form of encryption used by intelligence operatives, which, if true, would require knowing the key to ever decode it, a key that died with the man on the beach. Also found in the book, a local phone number. Police traced it to a woman, a nurse living nearby. They gave her the alias Justin to protect her identity, which wasn't revealed until decades later. When shown the plaster cast of the dead man's face, Justin's reaction was noted by investigators as unusual. She didn't claim to recognize him, but she didn't not recognize him either. She appeared deeply shaken. She refused to say more. She went to her grave having never given a full account of what she knew. Her son, Robin, born around the time of the man's death, was later found to share an extremely rare genetic trait with the Somerton Man, a specific ear shape and eye condition, strikingly uncommon, present in both. Some researchers believe Robin may have been his son. So who was he? Here is what serious researchers currently believe, and where each theory breaks down. The spy theory. This is the most widely accepted explanation among researchers. The Cold War had begun. Adelaide, despite seeming unremarkable, was home to the Woomera rocket testing range, one of the most sensitive military research facilities in the Southern Hemisphere. The man's use of a one-time pad cipher, his deliberately erased identity, his connection to a woman who was herself linked to people in the intelligence world, and the use of an untraceable poison all point to a trained operative. Either he was a spy who was silenced, or an operative who chose to end his own life rather than be captured. The suicide theory. The phrase Tamam Shud, it is finished, suggests a deliberate final statement. The hidden scrap, the obliterated identity, a man who wanted to vanish completely, even in death. But if it was suicide, why use a poison so sophisticated it was undetectable? And why go to the trouble of hiding the scrap in a sewn pocket rather than leaving it visible? The heartbreak theory. Some researchers, noting the phone number connection to Justin, believe this was a man destroyed by something personal. A lost relationship, a child he was denied access to, someone who came to Adelaide for one reason, to find someone. And when that failed, chose to end things on the beach, where the ocean met the land. Romantic, devastating, and impossible to prove. In 2022, a researcher named Derek Abbott, who had spent 15 years on the case and actually married Justin's granddaughter in the process, published findings suggesting the man may have been Carl Charles Webb, an electrical engineer from Melbourne. DNA evidence, he claimed, supported the identification. Australian authorities reviewed the findings. As of today, the identification has not been officially confirmed. The case remains officially open. If Webb is the right name, and many researchers are still not convinced, it only opens more questions. Why the false identity? Why Adelaide? What was in the cipher? And why did a nurse nearby have his phone number written in a book he was carrying when he died?
The Somerton Man was buried in West Terrace Cemetery in Adelaide. For decades, his grave was unmarked. Eventually, a headstone was placed, reading simply, "Here lies the unknown man who was found at Somerton Beach." In 2021, after years of legal petitioning, his body was exhumed for DNA testing. That testing led to the Carl Webb theory. But the cipher on the back of that book, those 5 lines of capital letters that have defeated every cryptographer, every intelligence analyst, every obsessive amateur who has ever taken them on, those remain unbroken. Somewhere, there may be a person alive today, a descendant, a former colleague, someone who knew him by a name we haven't found yet, who holds the key to all of it, who knows what those letters mean, who knows what he was running from or running toward when he lay down on that beach and watched the ocean for the last time. Tamam Shud. It is finished. Or is it? What do you think those 5 lines of letters mean? Drop your theory in the comments. And if you want more cases like this one, cases that have no clean ending, no easy answer, subscribe, because we're just getting started.